The old train station buzzed with noise. People rushed past with suitcases, their footsteps echoing off the cracked marble floor. Sarah stood near the ticket counter, gripping the small hand of her 6-year-old son, Liam. Her fingers trembled as she dug through her worn-out wallet. Crumpled receipts, expired coupons, a few pennies, but not enough. Her heart sank. "Ma'am," the ticket clerk said with a sigh, not unkind but firm, "I have to keep the line moving." Sarah swallowed hard. "I just need a one-way ticket to Boston." "That'll be $78. She turned away, shielding Liam from the embarrassment. "I'm sorry, baby," she whispered. "We might have to stay here tonight." Liam looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes. He didn't cry. He just nodded, like he understood too well what struggle meant for his age. That was the part that broke her. She forced a smile, brushing his hair back, trying to mask the fear growing in her chest. Behind her, someone cleared their throat, annoyed. "Can we move this along? Some of us have trains to catch." Sarah stepped to the side of the counter, her face burning with shame. She glanced at the station clock. 7:14 p.m. The next train to Boston was in 10 minutes. If they missed it, the next wouldn't come until morning, and she had no clue where they would sleep. The benches inside the station were metal and cold. The staff would probably escort them out after midnight. She held Liam tighter. "Maybe we can stay up all night and take the morning one," she mumbled, mostly to herself. Her eyes darted toward the vending machines. She had just enough change for a single bottle of water. No food. Liam hadn't eaten anything since the morning. They had run from home in such a rush she forgot the sandwiches on the kitchen counter. Just then, a voice behind her said gently, "How much are the tickets?" She turned and saw a man in a plain grey hoodie, his face calm, his eyes kind. His presence felt different, quiet but grounding. Before she could say a word, he stepped forward and slid his credit card across the counter. "2 tickets to Boston, please." The clerk looked surprised but processed the payment. Sarah's lips trembled. "I'm sorry, I can't pay you back." He only nodded. "That's okay." Her eyes welled up. She couldn't explain the feeling in her chest. It wasn't just relief. It was being seen. Her, rescued in the moment when she thought no one cared. They found a seat near the back of the train. Sarah sat beside Liam, who curled up in her lap, worn out from the day's chaos. Across the aisle, the man in the hoodie sat quietly, looking out the window, hands resting on his knees. Sarah couldn't help but glance at him again and again, wondering who he was, why he had helped, and why his silence felt so heavy. After several minutes, she leaned over. "Thank you, truly. I'm Sarah." He turned to her with a soft smile. "Michael." Sarah hesitated, then asked, "Why did you help me?" Michael didn't answer immediately. He looked down at his hands, then outside at the snow-dusted fields passing by. "Because someone once did the same for me." His tone was distant but not cold, like the memory he referenced was delicate, still alive somewhere deep inside. Sarah studied his face. There was pain there, yes, but also warmth, like someone who had carried burdens long enough to understand others' pain instinctively. "You've been through something," she said softly. He finally met her eyes. "I lost my wife and son in a car crash last winter." The breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected that. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice barely audible. He nodded once, the gesture heavy with emotion. "Me too, but I learned something. Grief either hardens you or it opens you up. Today I chose to stay open." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. She wiped them quickly, not wanting Liam to wake up and see her crying again. "I left Liam's father today." Michael looked at her with quiet attentiveness. He was abusive, not always physically, but enough to make me afraid. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed what I could in 10 minutes and ran. Michael's eyes softened. "Then you're braver than most." Sarah let out a shaky breath, leaning her head against the window for a moment. "I don't even know what we're going to do when we get there. I just knew we had to leave." The train rolled past empty fields and small towns. Liam slept deeply now, his little body warm against hers. Michael stood and walked over, quietly. He draped his coat over Liam. Sarah looked at him. "You didn't have to." He reminds me of my son, Michael said softly. Same age, same eyes. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, snowflakes began to drift. Inside, the air was still. Michael leaned back, watching the night slide by through the window. When I was at my worst, a stranger helped me, he said finally. No questions asked. That's why I started the foundation, to pass it forward. Sarah frowned gently. Foundation. But Michael just smiled faintly and said nothing more. He turned back to the window, the faint reflection of his face blurring into the dark landscape beyond. As the train began slowing for the final stop in Boston, Sarah's chest tightened again. The closer they got, the more real the uncertainty became. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. On it, barely legible in the station's dim light, was the address of a shelter she'd found online. No contact name, no guarantee they'd have room. Michael saw the panic returning to her face. Without a word, he reached into his coat and handed her a folded slip of paper. She opened it. A name and phone number were written in neat, confident handwriting. This is the number of someone I trust, he said. They run a transitional home for women and children. You won't be turned away. Sarah looked up at him, her brow furrowed. Why are you doing this? You've already helped so much. He hesitated, then said quietly, tell them Michael sent you. The name printed beneath it made her breath hitch. Thompson Foundation, for families in crisis. She blinked, stunned. She pulled out her phone, her fingers moving quickly. Within seconds, the search results confirmed it. Michael Thompson, founder and CEO, a non-profit leader known for rebuilding lives. The man who had quietly paid for her train ticket was one of the most respected humanitarians in the region. The train stopped. People began gathering bags, standing, preparing to disembark. Sarah stared at Michael, unsure of what to say. He simply gave her a soft nod and rose to his feet. Outside the station, the city lights flickered through the early evening haze. Michael stood near the curb, where a sleek black car waited. He looked different now, not because of what she'd discovered, but because she was seeing him fully. Sarah approached him, holding Liam's hand. Why didn't you tell me who you were? He gave her a gentle smile. Because you didn't need my title. You needed someone to believe in you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She reached out and gripped his hand. You didn't just help. You reminded me that kindness still exists. That maybe I can start over. He knelt and looked Liam in the eyes. Be brave. Look after your mom. Liam nodded seriously. I will. Michael handed Sarah one last card. When you're ready, the foundation has programs. Housing, career support, childcare. You won't be alone. The car door opened, and Michael stepped in. Before it pulled away, he looked back once more. Sarah and Liam stood there, silhouetted against the lights of the station, holding each other in the cold. But inside, warmth blew. For the first time in a very long time, Sarah believed in tomorrow.